Team Fortress 2, a first-person casual competitive shooter game that has aged like fine wine. Despite it being 15 years old, the community has refused to put the game down, and has outlasted its main competition twice now. Now, I'm basically the same age as Team Fortress 2, so I never really got to experience the golden age of grinding for golden pans on Man vs. Machine, or figuring out the learning curve with the community. I never understood the memes or the inside jokes made on SFM, so I decided to pay the game no mind, until about 2018 when I got my first laptop for Christmas. Now, this piece of technology wasn't exactly made for gaming. No lord. I could barely run Adobe Flash games on the damn thing. Despite that, I downloaded Steam and started browsing the free-to-play section, and then I stumbled upon TF2. I decided to give it a try, and after about 15 minutes of playing Soldier, I decided that the game sucked balls. The graphics weren't exactly Apex Legends, and the aiming was so fucking weird. And there were no assault rifles. How can you have a shooter game without an AR? It just wasn't possible. So I deleted it and never thought about the game again. Fast forward to 2023, where a very fed up Mr.Swaggio decided that he had played his final game of Apex Legends and needed to move on in the gaming world. His pockets weren't very liquid at this point, so he decided to hit up the free-to-play section, where he found Warframe, a video on that sooner or later, and tucked nicely at the top of the list was Team Fortress 2. Now, I had grown a lot as a gamer since 2018. I had a killer Apex banner on 3 different accounts, I was a king at Battlefield 2042, and I had gotten myself a gaming PC. So why not run it back one last time? And run it back I did. I dragged my buddy John into giving it a try as well, and warned him of the veterans to the game. Long story short, we did not have a good time. Sure, the first 15 minutes were filled with laughter as our ragdolls were thrown across the death screen and the voice acting was top tier, but after about 20 minutes straight of dying and having no kills at all, we got off. It wasn't enjoyable anymore, so we played some Warframe and that was that. For John, at least. Something told me to give it another try, so I hopped on again, and again, and again, yielding no results. I was about to accept my fate as the worst TF2 player and call it a day. But then I realized I had only played 8 out of the 9 classes. But I can never play support. I'm a purebred Octane maid from Season 1. I outfrag, outplay, and outmaneuver my enemies and drop 10 kills a game with little to no effort. Why the hell would I ever play support? Fine, I'll give him a try. Look at this. How can you even call this gameplay? I'm just standing here. Oh, look at that. I saved up my Uber charge for half an hour only to be killed by another scout. Why am I just standing here? I'm healing these assholes only for them to rocket jump right into the enemy and die 3 seconds later. Like, what is even the point of me healing if you're gonna commit suicide 10 seconds later? Oh, wait. I go fast with Scout? Okay, I can get around this. The crits Krieg gives 100% crits? Put that shit on a soldier in a congested hallway and sign me the flip up. Oh, what's that? The payload is overflowing with the enemy? Well, fear not. Heavy, come hop on this perk real quick. You're fucking gone. And the enemy team is fucking gone. This crossbow can heal my enemies and kill my opponents? Hell yeah! I'm starting to get this aim and shit down. Oh, combat medic? That sounds like... maybe we'll put a pin in this for now. I'm having fun in TF2. After 15 years, I have finally found my TF2 class. Medic, the best support class in the game. I'm sorry, but you can't even argue engineer. Yes, he has his sentry and his healing station, but it can only mimic a fraction of Medic's power and potential. If it came down to a 1v5, Medic stomps Gibraltar, Lifeline, Newcastle, Mercy, and combat medics in Battlefield. Because I despise those classes when I play. But Medic is different. Medic has a proper healing scaling, and his risk for reward must be taken heavily into account in order for him to be played properly and to his highest potential, and this is due to his Uber charge. Depending on what medic gun you choose, there are a few different effects / buffs that you can award your teammates with for healing them and surviving for extended periods of time. The stock medic gun gives you and the person you're healing invulnerability. The quick fix buffs the heal time and gives yourself some extra wiggle room when considering health. The crits Krieg gives the person you're healing guaranteed critical chance, and the vaccinator is basically the medic gun from Walmart. Nothing too special. All these medic guns are useful in their own way and can yield very high reward in different situations, game modes, and maps. All these factors you need to take into account when playing Medic. For this video, I had the goal of putting in 10 hours with Medic to make the video and gather as much intel as humanly possible. and to maybe convince you to play medic when your team is dealing with a healing crisis. But it would only take you 10 seconds to go down below, drop a like and a sub to help support the channel. If this video gets 100 views and at least 5 likes, I'm going to celebrate by buying a full Australia medic loadout. So make my bank account cry and go leave a like. Now, enough plugging my channel. Let's talk about medic. I have reached 5 hours as of writing this script, and I would like to talk about the following. 1. Your arsenal. 2. Team composition. 3. Heal/overheal priority. 4. Positioning. 5. Uber charge and when to utilize it. And 6. Combat medic/subclass. Now, before the round even starts, you need to figure out your arsenal. I went over the medic guns already, but when starting off, you're either going to be using the medic gun or the Kritzkrieg. In terms of primary weapons, you are given a full auto option and a single fire option. The full auto options are as follows. The stock syringe gun with 40 rounds that deal about 11 damage per hit. The Blutsauger with 40 rounds and you lose 2 health points per second on your passive heal, but you gain plus 3 health per shot you hit. And the overdose. Don't use the overdose, at least not for now. And the semi-auto option is the Crusader's crossbow, the most practical option but the hardest to master. You see, this crossbow shoots very slow and the bullet travels even slower, meaning it's the best example of needing to anticipate your shots. But this weapon not only hurts your enemies, but heals your allies too, meaning that it is the ultimate spy checking device. The dart doesn't get confused by the spy's disguise, meaning you can shoot all your allies and heal them, or rat out the spy. The melee is the Uber saw. You will use nothing else. Do you understand me? It grants you 25% of your Uber charge for every strike you land, a beautiful push in the right direction. Let's also add some drip real quick. I don't feel like spending $3,000 on hats and goggles, so let's put on a hat. Alright, cool. Let's talk about team composition. Obviously, you want a little bit of everything on your team. We want NGs for their sentries, the snipers for their accuracy, the scouts for their speed, but when medic, it doesn't hurt to ask for 2 heavies rather than just 1. And the same thing goes for demo man and soldier. You also don't want to have 6 demo men, 6 soldiers, and no heavies. My team tried it sucked a lot. We blew the match because of it. So now that we know how to season our team with the right spices and sauces, it's time to talk about who to heal. When you're playing medic, you're going to have a ton of people calling for you, and this is going to be overwhelming as hell, and very annoying at some points, but all you have to do is relax and listen to the voice lines. If it's not heavy, demo, or soldier screaming your name, don't stress it. But if it is, scream and cry because there are already 1,000 other fucking things going on at that exact moment. Nah, I'm just playing. Also, don't panic and assess your situation. Who do you have fully healed? Overhealed? What's your Uber at? Is the person you're currently healing pushing? What's the person who's calling your name health at? What is the other team doing? Should you switch to your crossbow? Should you retreat? Should you spy check? All the questions that are constantly throwing through your mind as you play this class. In terms of characters, these are who you're going to want to keep at full health from most important to least important. 1. Heavy is your best friend. 2. Soldier and demo man can be interchangeable and scenario dependent on who to prioritize. 3. Pyro. 4. NG. 5. Scout. 6. Sniper. 7. Spy. Really anything under NG is, up for debate and obviously scenario, but you get the gist of it. Now, medic has this beautiful, beautiful thing called overheal. This is when you get your teammates to full health, you can continue healing them beyond that health threshold. Being able to heal your heavy up to 450 health with the medigun. That's insane! With the amount of damage he outputs and can take at that moment can shift the tide of a game in seconds. Soldier goes up to 300, Demo Man goes up to 300, and Pyro goes to 260. And no one else matters really, because they're going to be doing their tasks as their classes. Always gravitate towards pocketing your heavy, but if he is at 450 health, he's more than likely good for a few seconds. So latch onto a soldier or demo man passing by and overheal them so they can rocket jump into the enemy line and die 5 seconds later. Really, just use common sense. Think of your team's health as a whole. Would you rather pocket a single heavy and only have 150 additional health for your team? Or would you rather disperse the overheal and give upwards of 450 additional health to your team in a short period of time? Very helpful, very smart, you are a great medic, you're learning so fast, and I'm so proud of you. Now this next point is very important and you must realize. You are priority number 1, numero uno. Your life cannot be lost or you mean little to nothing for your team. Your life is worthless. Okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but you do become the team's number 1 priority. Whether your team likes it or not, they need you. They need you really badly if they want any chance of winning. Your constant healing and uber charge can be the deciding factor of every game you play, and the stressful part is, It will be the deciding factor of every game you play, so you need to stay alive at all costs. How? Look at this beautiful drawing. You are going to want to be mid to behind your team at all times. As soon as you push too far forward, you become endangered, and if you haven't used your uber charge, you basically just threw away at least 5 minutes of work that you put in. Sucks to be you, I guess. Knowing where the enemy is and where they're going to be is crucial to knowing how to play your teammates. Again, whether your team likes it or not, they are your meat shield, and their life is your priority until your life is in danger, then your life is your priority. There are many instances of Demo Knight getting straight up in your face to send you back to the respawn machine, and you can't do anything. If you melee back, you lose. Take out your primary, you lose. But what I like to do is to flee towards the person I'm healing on an angle, and makes it so that if the Demo Knight were to rush at me, it would first hit the person who I'm healing, and he would have to deal with them before he got to me. There are times where I am successful, unsuccessful, and sometimes where the other person dies and I make it out alive, which counts as a success because remember, you are priority number 1. This also doesn't mean you get to be an asshole and out your team every time you die by cursing them out in chat or criticizing their gameplay. It's pretty rare to come across a medic like that, but if you do, just know they probably likely died at 95% uber charge 5 too many times that day and are on the verge of switching their main. So in positioning, use your teammates as heat shields in order to have less of a chance of dying to snipers and getting caught out by a spy with your hand up your ass. You're going to want to bunny hop a little bit. You're not going to want to do it all the time, but when leading out into the open or in close quarters, snipers and spies are very dangerous and can really mess with your playstyle. So to consistently be spy checking and bunny hopping when crossing center map is a good way to help keep yourself alive a little bit longer. Or also just don't fucking cross center map. Now let's talk about the holy grail of medic, his uber charge. After a slow and painful few minutes of kicking your feet to stay alive, you are rewarded with an uber charge that grants insane abilities. The medic gun gives you about 8 seconds of invulnerability, the crits Krieg gives you a few seconds of guaranteed crits, but do not use them as soon as you get them, because the time may not be right. The best time to use this is when the respawn wave of enemies are pushing the objective. It seems stressful, but you will soon create a mental clock in your head of when the enemies last had their big push, and when the people will respawn and push in a huge wave again. A medic's wet dream is the medic gun uber charge, a fully juiced up heavy, and a wave of clueless scouts, spies, and medics approaching the objective. As soon as that uber charge goes off, it's game over for the other team. You will get a ton of assists and change the flow of the game, because you and your heavy were able to fend off 2 whole waves of enemies by yourself. And if your team is competent, then you will have spared the NGs and demo men enough time to set up for future waves of enemies, and your team will be able to hold the point for a longer period of time than if you didn't have that uber charge. Now the crits Krieg is a bit different. The guaranteed crits are amazing, but having a heavy in the open with it sometimes isn't the greatest idea, because all it takes is 2 well-placed sniper shots to ruin your day. I have come to find that my crits Krieg works better with pyros and soldiers. Their area damage and good overheal allows them to plow through heavily congested areas and take out an entire team in a matter of seconds, and in the soldier's case, at any distance they want. Due to critical attacks completely ignoring damage drop-off, your soldier can screw up a team of camping snipers from miles away, and that makes you a deadly fucking force. The quick fix is like the medic gun, but instead of no damage taken, you just heal really fast, so I guess it's an okay choice. Alright, now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Combat medic. Is it a real subclass? And with 10 hours under my belt and a statement that comes from deep within, combat medic is not a real subclass. I know, medic mains, please don't get salty. I say this with statistics and guidance in my heart. And if you're getting pressed at this, I have a question. When was the last time you saw a medic top frag? Cricket noises. That's what I thought. For those of you who don't know, people like to use the Blutsauger to have a more aggressive playstyle as medic and maybe rack up a few kills. I tried combat medic a few times and came to the conclusion that it's not a subclass, but rather an alternative way to fend for yourself. Some characters like Scout and Spies are going to make your medic career miserable, but with the fire rate on the Blutsauger and the additional 3 health it gives you for every shot you hit, it's a much better close range attack option rather than the crossbow. As I highly advise that no sane person playing medic should be throwing themselves to the front line with a combat medic subclass in mind. I think it's a really good alternative when dealing with a server heavily filled with spies and scouts. But you are a medic. Not a goddamn fragger, you're a support class. This is how the game balanced you. Stop pushing the stupid fuck. I just had to get that out. Okay, so with everything wrapped up, I just want to do a quick conclusion of why I think you should give medic a try, especially if you're new to the game. Within these 10 horrific hours of grinding a class and trying to constantly get into the heads of my enemies, I've learned so much about the game that I have constantly struggled with in terms of game sense. After watching closely on how soldiers, demos, heavies, and pyros play, I myself have learned so much on how to carry myself as a TF2 player. where soldiers rocket jump, where demos place their stickies, when heavies decide to use melee, when pyros use air blast and scorch shot. I've gotten better as a player by just simply watching these other classes play. Also, not to mention the guns that I've been stuck with during this time. The amount of anticipation and coordination needed to pull off frags with the crossbow and any of the syringe guns, forget about it! That shit was so difficult and annoying to get used to, but when it did, it opened a whole new door for my playing style. Suddenly classes like Soldier and Demoman didn't seem so challenging when it came to anticipating their shots, and the sniper's bow and arrow didn't seem so stupid anymore. The movement of Spy, the setups for NG, the flanks for Scout, everything hit me like a freight train. I got better at finding out which enemies are real and who's a disguised spy. I know when to back off from battles and when I should push with my team. I finally understand this game. After an 8-year arc of downloading the game and then paying it no mind, the circle has been complete, and I'm now uber addicted. I get that, because, you know, Medic has an Uber charge. Okay. Now before I go, I would like to thank a few people that I highly doubt made it to the end of the video. Uncle Dane for always popping up on my YouTube recommended page for the last few years. Omaxo for not only getting me into TF2, but also opening my passion for commentary in YouTube. The Team Fortress Films for making Emesis Blue and lighting the fiery interest I now have in the game. And the last one, thank you to the community. Over the past couple of years, life certainly hasn't been the greatest, and video games were often an active escape from the world. I've been playing with other communities in the past, but there was just something different about this game. Maybe it was the constant emoting, the hilarious text chat messages, the praise and thanks for being the medic, the outstanding social media community, the creative minds that make the SFM. But I think it's the fiery passion of the community that refuses to cave in and always shows the gaming community as a whole that there are always more ways to have fun in a 15-year-old game that our developers left behind. If you watched to the end of this video, go down in the comments and say, "It's your boy Chips Ahoy!" I'm just curious if anyone actually got finished with the video. We got 45 views on the Cuphead video! That's amazing! Thank you guys for stopping by and checking out the channel. I'm not sure if I want to make a Warframe video or a video essay about Ippo no Hajime, but whichever one it is, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!